Hello. I was wondering if I might trouble you for a cup of strong black coffee, and in the process engage you with an anecdote of no small amusement.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of NerdyVerse here at Nerd Herder. I'm J-Dub.
And I am allegedly Boop.
Allegedly. You are also here, and I'm glad you're here.
I've heard conflicting reports.
Rumors do circulate. Is the Boop present?
Is Boop in the room?
Is Boop in
Can
the room?
we speak to Boop, please?
I sense a presence in this house.
Smells like nacho cheese Doritos.
We are podcast professionals, I promise. No, we are here. I'm glad to be here. I don't know about you. This continues to be a highlight and a light at the end of the tunnel for me each week, especially this crap show of a week. To get to hang out and chat things I like with people I like, that's the life right there. And we only get to do it for 2 hours a week. My goodness.
Essentially, yes.
Listen, we try to be timely. We try to hit an hour. I don't know what else to say. We try.
Yes, and I don't want to interrupt, but I believe your mic is backwards.
My mic backwards?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you talk while I fix that.
Well, not to bring down the party almost immediately, but it's been a big week. Unfortunately, something happened today. They announced the passing of the beautiful singer Julie Cruz, who did a lot of the Roadhouse performances in Twin Peaks. If you're a Twin Peaks fan, her beautiful ethereal voice rings in my mind almost 24/7. That's very sad, especially if you're a fan of Twin Peaks like I am. And so, yeah, R.I.P. Hopefully she is, in
Resting
a better place.
well in the White Lodge.
Exactly. Thank you for making words that I could not.
Yeah, if you don't know, if you've never realized, which I wouldn't blame anyone, Twin Peaks is still kind of obscure, but our intro and outro are courtesy of Twin Peaks. Don't tell anybody. We don't want to get sued, but
I'm pretty sure David Lynch would not sue us.
He's
got weather reports to make.
My gosh, this takes me way back when we first started NerdyVerse.
Raven.
The lovely Raven
Beautiful,
with us.
Beautiful Raven.
When we first started NerdyVerse, we used a lot of lingo to describe this as like this nerdy cup of coffee for your day or what. Like back when we used to podcast in the morning, when we were completely different people.
Children.
Take us back, but yeah, and so coffee is very centric to Twin Peaks.
It's a very important, sacred.
I love it. I love the characters, the family of actors that show is. If you haven't watched it, please watch it, and then text us if you have questions, because you will.
And I've read the books.
And so
done the reading.
We're recommending a lot of things because I'm sure a lot of people are checking this out. A lot of our listeners who are used to us, obviously, for Star Wars. We love Star Wars, but we also love other things, hence NerdyVerse, for all the other stuff that we love. But this, nobody wrote in or banged down the door for a Transformers episode. But you know what? I just wanted to do it.
Exactly.
I'm just putting it out there. I did not coerce. Boop is here with consent, but yes, this is a me thing. I like Transformers.
And you know what? Me too.
And I wanted to talk about it. And luckily, I'm not the only one that likes Transformers. And so it's nice to, and that's one of the things is, getting to find all kinds of things that we share in common with our Star Wars friends is really cool, because so many times, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate, they like something and they're like, oh, I don't know if anyone else likes this, and you don't really have someone to share that with. And one of the things we like to do with Nerd Herder is highlight what we like, to be able to be like, hey, I'm over here, I like it too, let's talk about that, because that's interesting. We like what we like, and we like talking about it. That's just a nerd thing, and so we certainly have fun with that. all the time. The lovely Miss Raven here joining us live, because you can do that.
She
can
does
do
like
that every Friday at
Transformers.
9. Raven, why aren't you on this podcast if you like Transformers? Talk to past J-Dub and make sure he corrects that sin. But anyway, so yes, but we have lovely. Well, we were supposed to have a lovely pair, but nonetheless, we still have one of the loveliest parts of the Broaxium crew. Not
It's
only
true.
is Raven in the chat, but our lovely guest for the evening is the illustrious
The beautiful.
Christopher Ryans. Is it Christopher or is it Chris?
It's Christopher. Yeah.
It's Christopher.
Mhm.
That's your Jesus name?
Yeah.
Yes.
I had
His
someone
full government name.
I had someone drop that on me the other day. They were like, my name's Wade, but my Jesus name is Billy Wade. I'm like, that's not better.
It's not.
I don't know what church your parents went to, but I'd have questions.
Jesus name.
Chris.
Yeah.
How are you, sir?
Sorry about my voice. I've had some energon sickness over the past week.
Yes.
So
yeah, it's not his.
I can try and use my regular voice, but I just try to keep it rested so I could.
It's true.
So I can get over a little bit. Yes. But yeah, I'll do my best.
He's trying to compete with Alden for best podcast radio voice. So
wow.
Every single time I get a text from one of my brothers, like, "Who's that guy you had on your podcast? He's got a great radio voice." I text him, and I'm like, "You've got fans."
It all goes to his head, but
immediately.
Man, what's been going on with Broaxium crew? I know you, Dan, y'all were fresh off of Star Wars Celebration. How was that?
That was an amazing time. A lot of highlights, a lot of missed opportunities because there was so much to do, and so many people. There's so many meetups and things like that. So I've missed, I think, like 2 or 3 meetups, and some of those are scheduled at the same time. But I got to fulfill a little lifelong dream of mine and meet Carl Weathers. I got to go to Galaxy's Edge so I can stop being jealous of people who get to go before me. And then, to top the thing off on our first day was that the world premiere of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and we got to go to that. And that was, I can barely even put into words, I can barely alliterate how amazing that was to go to that. It was just,
oh man, I bet.
It was something else. Yeah, I can barely even verbally quantify that one. But it was an amazing time.
That's awesome. Yeah, so much of celebration is celebration in the emotional sense. It's the experience and the feeling of just basking in all of that, whether it's it hanging out with your friends, whether it is the content in the news, whatever.
Yeah.
It's something to experience for sure for a Star Wars fan.
And the one thing that the highlight going into this, with Celebration Chicago I went to, and in Celebration 2 and 3 that I also went to, it was definitely going to see whatever new things for like Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith back then, or with whatever they're going to show for Mandalorian and all that kind of stuff for Chicago. With this one, we were looking forward to stuff with Obi-Wan, Andor, Ahsoka, all that stuff. But that was secondary. That played secondary to finally getting to hang out with everyone, or almost everyone, because you guys weren't there, unfortunately. But with everyone within our community of weird space friends, and it was that was the absolute highlight. Just meeting, for me, like meeting Pete and Nick and Scotty and Jerry and Modelo Mike, everyone. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, we've mentioned it the week of, the week after, and even still, the feeling is definitely we envied more who was there, who got to be together, than being in the room for the news. Because
envied the Pringles.
I did not feel like I missed
I got
anything.
the Pringles, man.
You did get the Pringles.
I got the Pringles, and I got 2 boxes of the Frosted Flakes, man. I am not proud of what I did to get those 2, but I yeah.
Hey, what you do.
This
what
is
you
a family
do.
show, Chris.
But yeah, like the way they did, and here's the thing. I know some people were upset about the live stream stuff, but at the end of the day, I got the news. I was fine.
Yeah.
I only cried when I saw the pictures of everyone together and all that, and it's very, it's a very much like from us. It we're happy for everyone that got to go, but we're definitely like, well, we were originally resolving. We're like, we're going next year. And then they dropped the location for it, and then we're like,
London.
we're not going.
We're
next
going
year.
2024 instead.
No,
Right.
We're going to.
Fingers crossed for
What
Orlando.
was the name I came up with? Like Celebration.
Oh, Celebration.
Yes.
Celebration.
Celebration. Yes, we will get all of the Pickle Bros together.
It's true.
For our own celebration, and it'll be at Scotty's wedding.
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So, but no, but now before we dive into the podcast, the content, I did want to just take a moment and get a sip from. Oh, what's this? New Nerd Herder merchandise. If you're tuning into this live, you'll see that I am now lovely. I've got a lovely little beverage here in our Pride Nerd Herder merchandise. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. And while he sips from that, something that I did not tell you off camera because I wanted to get your reaction on camera, Chris.
Oh.
Yes. So a while back we talked about Masters of the Universe, the movie. That was my first time seeing a Masters of the Universe property. Ever.
I feel like that's not as bad.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Well,
it's bad.
I'll divert to the expert
that's oh boy, wow.
Because I kept going.
You're previewing ahead because not only is Chris here tonight, he'll be here with us in a couple of weeks to talk about Master of the Universe, which we now have a confirmed sequel to Revolution.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't catch it at first, just because I was just like so ecstatic that it got announced. But
nice. I totally missed that.
Yeah, mostly because it's like two different letters.
Exactly. They didn't change much.
So there you go. For the
Kevin Smith.
For the dyslexic fans, we noticed nothing. But yes, so new Nerd Herder merch is out for Pride, and all of the proceeds we get, which is not much, so buy a lot, but any proceeds we do earn from that are going to go straight to the Amidala initiative. At Amidala Helps, you can check out 77 other content creators who are doing all kinds of things to promote the goodness and support Equality Texas and their work in Texas for LGBTQ plus folks and families. So get over there, check that out. If you want non-Pride merch as well, we do have some of that. Get it before Disney takes it down because it's like a weekly adventure for me. But nonetheless, we are, I don't know if you guys know, but we are here to talk about Transformers.
Wow.
Right?
Stan Bush, the musical legend. Here's the thing. If you don't know Transformers, I don't think you understand how much work went into an epic soundtrack for Transformers.
No, including Weird Al Yankovic.
Like the soundtrack for the Transformers movie, the original, still slaps today, I would say.
It is the greatest soundtrack ever outside of anything that John Williams has done for Star Wars. It's,
very true.
There you go.
It is the best soundtrack. It has the best songs. Stan Bush, Vince DiCola, Weird Al with Dare to Be Stupid. Yeah, it was dope. But that soundtrack just look. I've put that soundtrack to any movie, and I'm like, this makes the movie 1,000 times better. Any movie, Terms of Endearment, 1,000 times better. The Addams Family, boom! It's just 1,000 times better. It's amazing. Yeah.
Oh, it makes everything better. And I think the movie is pretty great to start out. But Transformers has amazing music. That one specifically. So Stan Bush is most, I think, known and what's most associated musically with Transformers is The Touch. Yeah. Yes. They actually convinced this man to come back and do an actual song about Transformers, which that is an excerpt from called Till All Are One. Mm-hmm. And it is the most orchestral and epic piece of music about toys ever.
Yeah.
I love how seriously he took the art, and I have that stuck in my head on the regular because he put his heart and soul into that, I believe.
Probably some blood.
He's probably never seen a Transformer, and that's okay because Stan Bush is magic. But nonetheless, you have seen a Transformer, Chris, and hence why you're here. At least a few. And so I figured we could start off with maybe what you love about Transformers? Because I mean, you were a first pick for this for sure. We've briefly chatted about Transformers, mostly about where we disagree on certain films, but nonetheless, I knew you were an out and proud Transformers fan, and
Absolutely.
so maybe a little bit about what you love, or maybe the Transformers thing that made you.
Look, Art. So it came out in '84. I was 9 years old. It's almost like the same way when people ask me, "Well, what made you a Star Wars fan?" I'm like, "Well, it came out in '77. I was 2 years old." There you go. And it was the same thing with this. It was just that new thing that came along and blew my mind. And it was Transformers came out. I can't explain to you what the phenomenon was, because there was really, outside of Star Wars, there was, or G.I. Joe and Masters of the Universe, because they were out a year earlier. There's really nothing like it. There was so much, mystique around it and whatnot. Like, oh, they transform into cars and this and that. And I wish I can go back to me being like the 3rd and 4th grade to even get into that same mindset of what it was like. But yeah, Transformers, it was just amazing. It was just amazing. It just captivated. Anyway, there wasn't a kid in school, well, back in elementary school, and there was no cool kids or this or that. Like, everyone was just like, we're just all in the Transformers. It all came down to who had the most Transformers, or which was the coolest kid in school was a kid who had the first run of the Dinobots, or I remember, like, my mom, I got Optimus Prime for Christmas one year by sheer luck. My mom was doing some Christmas shopping, and there was someone in front of her in line who had Optimus Prime. It was like the last one, and that parent was with their kid, and their kid was acting up, and their mother put Optimus Prime back. My mom was like, "Scoop."
Yeah,
and so I got it. Like, thanks to that kid losing his shit in school. I'm sorry, but pardon my français. But yeah, it was a absolute phenomenon. I can't even. Could barely quantify that one. But yeah,
I couldn't think of a better title for it, because I mean, growing up with, and obviously I came after the initial premiere of the original run. Yeah. But it was one of those things where once I got it, I binged as much as I could access legally, and slightly not illegal. But anyway, and so, like, growing up with it, I feel like it was still that perfect childhood magic of it, for sure. We've talked about this, I think, on a recent episode with Star Wars stuff, where it's just like you kind of have to be in a special place. It's really hard to get adults into Transformers, just like it is with Star Wars. I think there's something in the childlike magic of it, and that's okay. Like, I'll admit, I watch children's shows. Transformers are children's shows by and large. The most adult they get, I would say, are the feature films. But it's one of those things where it's like it takes me back to that place. It makes me feel just as hyped and excited on the couch now as it does. Like, before this, I was watching one of my favorite classic series, and it was the same thing of just like, I'm laughing at the jokes, I'm leaning into the action scenes. It's still fun, but I think you have to discover it, or you have better luck liking it if you discover it at a young age. I would think.
Each character was so different. They had a different voice, even though in that G1 series, there was like a handful of voice actors, and these were very talented voice actors, and each voice actor did like 6 characters each.
Right.
But each one had a distinct voice, a distinct attitude, and that was fantastic for kids. Back in the day, in my day, because there was something for each of us to latch on to. Optimus Prime and Ironhide, those two had the same voice actor, and Peter Cullen, but they were so different that I never told them apart. Frank Welker, who was a genius,
he was half the cast.
Was a voice. Yeah, he's half the cast. He did so many voices. Corey Burton, who was Spike and Shockwave, and a few others. Like, Frank Welker was like Soundwave, and Wheelie, and Ravage, and Laserbeak, and
Frenzy, and Rumble.
And Frenzy, Rumble.
Yeah.
And of course Megatron. It's amazing. and Optimus Prime, like back in the 80s, you know, kids, we had like I had a father, of course, but
what's that?
I had
for
one at one
kids,
point.
For kids, Optimus Prime was there were like two major father figures back in the day, and that was Hulk Hogan and Optimus Prime. And Hulk Hogan has disappointed me to great lengths. He's turned into a racist piece. But Optimus Prime was like one of those great father figures. And if we talk about Transformers the movie, the 1986 movie,
oh man,
let me explain to you what little Chris was like. Little 11-year-old Chris watching that movie in the theater, and Optimus Prime dies. And granted, I'm not sobbing or anything like that, or blah blah. I'm just watching it and just tears. Tears. I'm just
buddy.
So that was me as well. Like I remember watching. I went to, and please, internet, do not run with this, okay? But where I grew up, before there was a Blockbuster, there was Beaver's Video. Okay. Yes, there was a large department there that you were not allowed to go to as a youth.
I would imagine. They had to have an adult section there.
Had to.
Yes,
like Beavers.
I mean,
there was a reason. Like they had one side that was explicitly kids. There was a little playground in there and everything, and I think they made it so attractive. So it was like, go over there, don't go to the dark section. But anyway, they had they had the first 3 seasons of Transformers. And,
the OG,
yeah, and I watched the heck out of that, and then found out, wait, there's a movie. And so I've watched this series at least a couple times, really fallen in love with the characters, and like you said, like Optimus Prime, like OG Optimus Prime, and some series have really done it well as well. He was that very different. He wasn't like the coolest or the leader or the hero because he did the most epic things or beat the most bad guys. It was like his upstandingness.
Yes.
He was G.I. Joe as a robot.
He was a full-on hero. He was a robotic security blanket for kids my age back then. Absolutely.
And so obviously growing up as a kid, he's one of my favorites. We'll talk about my favorite later, but like,
yes, we will.
One of my favorites. And so I knew nothing about this movie. Pop it in. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
There goes Cliff Jumper.
12 minutes in, and I couldn't finish it the first time. I was.
You were devastated, weren't you?
I don't care who this Hot Rod is. I don't care about these new characters.
Don't get me started on Hot Rod.
I'm out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So how traumatizing? All right. So for us, the commercials leading up to, they were just telling us Optimus Prime's going to die. They were pretty much saying in the commercials, every episode of Transformers leading up to this movie coming out. You know, it was like, well, they literally said, will Optimus Prime die? You know, all that stuff. And you see him getting shot in the face and everything. So we're like, oh no. They were mentally preparing us for this. So when it happens, all right, I didn't think there were going to be that much of a body count because in the show, people got shot, but and then they're back the next episode. They're fine.
Right.
And this one, they get shot. That's when they get shot in the animated movie. That's it. They're done. My first Transformer was Prowl, the police car.
Oh, dude. Arguably, well, next to Ironhide, arguably the worst off in that movie.
Yo, I was just like, hey, huh? Like when the light goes out in his eyes, the smoke. I was like, oh no! I was just, no. Like, yeah, they killed him. Braun got shot in the shoulder and died. I was like, what is happening?
Right?
Are their lasers that much more powerful now? You know, or
right?
You know, something.
Why was doing this the entire time?
I was so confused. Like, why are they dying? You know, like a little 11-year-old me couldn't handle it. You know, then. You know, they all get shot up. Ratchet gets shot up, and Ironhide gets shot up, and then Ironhide had the nerve to like try to live. And
how dare he?
How dare he? Megatron's like, shut up, and like hits him in the point blank to the face.
Oh yeah.
That was just too much.
It was intense, and so
Wow.
no, I was right there with you, absolutely, and that's the heartache of coming to a young age and loving this thing is that and all of that, and you and I joked about this on Twitter, but all of that was just so they could clear the shelves for
Yes.
more toys.
That was the game plan. Absolutely.
Because
They had no idea what they were doing.
Oh, yeah.
They knew what they were doing, but they had no idea what the damage would be to kids, because this messed kids up.
Oh yeah,
Because
and
we were so close to these characters, and they just killed them off for new ones. And granted, I loved Ultra Magnus and Perceptor and the Junkions and that. I'm not saying Hot Rod, and it's just but to kill off these characters that we all were so. Here's what Transformers the movie did. It made kids my age grow up
way
far
too soon.
sooner than we should have.
Yes.
That movie put hair on our chest, so to speak. Like we had to deal with death at that point. Like seeing Optimus Prime, that seemed so final. Like to see him die and turn black and gray. We're like,
oh yeah, they made sure
that was
dead.
That was lost. That was lost that we dealt with. Like I said, when I sat there and watched and just tears streaming down my face, that was a special kind of hurt.
Mm-hmm.
That was a special kind of hurt.
Well, and it's different than to relate it to something else we love. It's different than in Star Wars when Obi-Wan sacrifices himself, or we get these heroic moments that I feel like even as a kid I wasn't like, oh no, Obi-Wan. Number one, because instantly we hear his voice from beyond calling out to Luke and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Like even in Star Wars, I don't want to say
death isn't just final.
Yeah, it's not, and it's not just about having purpose, but I just feel like overall there wasn't a death at that point in my childhood that traumatized me.
Absolutely not.
But
nope.
Transformers traumatized me. That was one of the first instances of like a childhood character dying. Like,
yes,
that was legit.
Yeah. There's a video on YouTube. Man, I can't think of the name right now, but there's this dude. Guys my age, it was like our own therapy session, where he talked about how this destroyed kids. There were kids who locked themselves in their rooms for weeks on end because they were traumatized because Optimus Prime was killed.
Yeah,
like that's the kind of connection that like Transformers made with us. And I wasn't like, that's weird. I was like, I understand. I totally understand that.
Yeah, it was very different, and I'm very glad that in general 97% of Transformers has gone a completely different direction. Optimus Prime keeps dying, but in general it's a lot less traumatizing.
Yeah.
It's never hit the same again.
No. Like I know we're getting on those horror debate movies you like, but like when he died in that, I was like,
saw it coming.
Right. Yeah.
Knew he'd be back by the end of the film.
Exactly.
So now, Boop, for you though.
Yes.
So to circle back to obviously, Chris and I have childhood relations with Transformers. Wait a minute.
That's a bad choice of words.
We have liked Transformers since our youth days.
Yes.
But for you,
for me,
as you recently said off mic, but for the live listeners now.
Yes.
Transformers.
I did not grow up watching Transformers. I know, horror of horrors.
It's all right.
It was out of my sphere of awareness. I had older brothers, but we were watching Ninja Turtles. Like, we had other stuff to do.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong.
You were onto other great content.
I was, and great content I watched. I will stand by my statement that TMNT Secret of the Ooze is the best sequel ever made.
Ever.
Still
holding to that. Okay.
Don't make that face. But yeah, Transformers wasn't really. I knew of them, of course. I could never figure out how to actually transform the toys because they were just a bit too difficult for me.
Yeah, it definitely it taught us problem solving.
Yeah. Right. Especially the old ones where it's just like, this one doesn't even have a face.
Yeah.
Where's the face?
Right.
Like Ironhide and Ratchet. Yeah, they were just windshields.
I got one and I was just like, I think mine's broken.
Yeah.
Like, no, you got it. That's right.
That's the toy.
That's right.
You should have grabbed a visual aid before coming on camera. Probably somewhere around.
I have plenty.
You do. But yeah, like up until 2000 what?
2016.
Oh.
Yeah, because we went to see Age of Extinction together.
We did. No, I went to see it with my parents. The first movie.
Yeah. 2007.
2007. And up until 2007, I had never sat down to watch a Transformers property. I know. And I didn't like it. Oh, yeah. And I continued to not like it until very recently. Yeah, like Transformers was very... Hi. That's a John thing. I'll sit around the room when John is watching it. Boba doesn't mind. He snores. Okay, that's enough. Yeah, I talk all the time about how John will sit me in front of his toy shelves and just tell me a bunch of stuff, and that was how I learned about many a Transformer. I couldn't, point them out in a lineup except for, the basics. But up until very recently, when you sat me down to watch a few choice episodes of G1, and then we're watching through Prime right now.
Yeah, when we settled on this episode, because I went back and forth, and I don't remember what it was, but you were finally like, okay, like...
I know exactly what it was.
What?
It was all the clips of Starscream that you showed me.
I knew it was something where you're like, all right, let's talk about it. I'll try.
I love a queer-coded villain, obviously.
So, what I love about, like with any fan, when people like something, they latch onto it in a fandom, and you can find, if you like specific things in your fandom, you can find someone who also likes them and has made videos about it. Mm-hmm. And so I had found these like character highlights, like moments from G1, from Beast Wars, from the 2000s animated shows, from the movies. Like, this person would take their favorite things of each of these characters, Starscream included, and put them together. And there were certain ones that definitely you were leaning up for or paying attention to, versus other ones where you're just like,
okay,
yeah, I've seen that one. I don't like
that man's got a crown. I like him.
So yeah, because he was very much like, okay, let's try, let's dabble with the Transformers.
Let's test out. And definitely Starscream is probably my favorite Transformer.
It does not surprise me at all.
Come on, man. You could at least be a little bit surprised. Yeah, like, sue me. I love a purple queer-coded villain, all right? In any form that loves to be in charge of things and is ready to take over at a moment's notice. Yes.
Megatron is stubbed his toe. I am now the leader of the Decepticons.
Prepare my coronation crown. Yeah, and then you showed me the Dinobots episode of G1 Transformers.
Yeah, so for us, I think the first thing we watched together for Transformers was Age of Extinction. And even for a non-Transformers fan, Boop was very dissatisfied with Dinobots. Because I think
15 minutes.
I think one of the selling points I gave Boop for, like, hey, can we go see this for my birthday, was there's dinosaur robots in it.
Yes.
Because you were then, and you still very much are, a Dino fan.
I do. I love dinosaurs.
I love that even as a not Transformers fan, you were dissatisfied. And so, like, I wanted to show you the origins of the Dinobots, the original lovely Dinobots.
And they are puppies.
I love them so much.
They are just big dogs, and I love them so much.
Yeah, very different. Very different.
King of Dinobots.
Greg Berger, I've met that man. He's one of the sweetest Transformers voice actors. They're all of the original cast are some of the most amazing people. If you ever have the chance to meet them, I've met Peter, I've met Corey, I've met Greg. They're just fantastic golden lads. It's just and yet again, to call back to like the title of this episode, like there's so much about how Transformers came about, who made it happen, and what made it the thing that uh, kids like me and Chris and fell in love with, and then evolved to what other people would then fall in love with. Like it can't be anything less than a phenomenon because it's just so many things aligning and so much luck and chance that made this weird little toy line based cartoon successful. Like it's so crazy to me what work had to come together to make it happen.
Yeah.
But we've gotten 38 years worth of excellent content, I think.
Absolutely.
So. But now, yeah. And as we've preached on Nerd Herder, and honestly, I mean, I think it's something we've hit on a lot of times, especially if you go into our early episodes, because that was very much when you came off the high of, hey, I read this one Star Wars book and now I have my favorite Star Wars character.
It's true.
Like find the thing you like about a thing. Like don't approach a fandom or a series or content from the same angle everybody tells you have to. Find your thing, and if you don't have a thing, that's fine, but like you'd be surprised at if you approach something in a uniquely you way, you'll find something that speaks to you, that reaches you, that just makes you laugh. Maybe whatever it is to you, it doesn't have to be meaningful and deep. It can just be fun.
Yeah. I mean, Starscream and Slag, they are two.
Are your favorites?
Yes, and that's what keeps me watching. Honestly,
nice.
Because I like both of those things, and I'm like, I wonder how this is going to come up later.
I was like, you're gonna love the movie. There's so much Dinobot content here.
And there is.
It's so good.
And then Eric Idle showed up, and I was jazzed.
Yeah. Wait, Nanny Bong. I love that movie.
It's an amazing universal greeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. When we first started dating, John would just say that sometimes. And I was like, okay, now I have context.
It's the way that the Junkions say it. It's the way that Retgar says it that's like just stuck in my head. And it's just like,
Jerry.
Attaboy.
I'm saying it's like so many Star Wars sounds where it's just like it's so unique. It's filed under vital content in my brain, and so it just lives there rent free. So yeah, sometimes it just comes out like that. That's a cycle in my elevator music. Is just Ba Week Rana Week Ninny Bong. And if you don't know what we're talking about, go watch the movie.
Please.
Yes.
You can currently do it for free on Prime if you have it, or it's very cheap to rent on YouTube.
Or buy it. Find a VCR and just watch it.
That's true. Well, yeah. But as I preach often, Tubi, Tubi, a free streaming service.
Not sponsored.
Not a sponsor, should be, because I talk about it all the time. Has all the Transformers. All of them.
Oh, they're all on there.
Well,
so all of G1?
All the American release. So all of G1,
Nice.
The 3 anime formers, as I call them, from the early 2000s. Beast Wars is on there.
Amazing.
Oh, my
Is Beast Machines on there?
It is.
That's unfortunate.
I actually gave that a second try recently, and I was just like, nope, still don't like that.
Is that the one that's hard to look at?
Yes.
Okay.
I like how we knew exactly what you're talking about. Like, yes, and that coming from like you cannot like certain Transformers.
Yeah,
perfectly
absolutely.
Fine. I don't like Beast Machines. Chris doesn't like the movies.
I hate the movies. I not liking is putting it lightly. I hate those Michael Bay movies. It is. Thank you. You're right, Jerry. I try, man. I try, brother. For me, and I'm sorry. I know you dig these movies, but it was like, let's take everything that made Transformers what it is and why it's as popular as it is, and let's just not put that into the movies. Like I said, the title I have for those movies is Humans the Movie. Watch out for some giant robots. That's the name of those movies. Too many humans. Too much.
It's
too much. It's
borderline kaiju movies for some, I'd say, where it's just like the movie happens around the giant monster, kind of thing.
Yeah.
and we were talking about this off the mic. So yeah, I really enjoy the first three. I, to a lesser degree, tolerate the fourth one, and then the fifth one doesn't exist, and then Bumblebee happened. For me, and Bumblebee next to the first one is probably my favorite. I really like
Bumblebee next to the other ones is a masterpiece.
Oh, absolutely.
It's some of the best, and I mean, you said it off mic, but I'll say it again for you. That first 5 minutes is the best part of that movie.
The Cybertron stuff was amazing. Like me and my friends, we're all a bunch of old fogies in our 40s watching that movie or whenever it came out. But all of us were like, oh, we were literally that Leonardo DiCaprio meme.
Yes.
Watching,
yeah. Well,
oh,
me too, because
it was all over the place.
I applaud them for it. They completely neglected any of that, and I'm so glad they had the self-control to do that in any of the marketing or anything, because starting with that, I lost my mind.
I was like, this is amazing, and then it went into it went into Hawkeye and her pet car robot thing.
I will say, I thought that was some of the better done human stuff in Bumblebee. If you're just sticking to the movies, but all that to say, for someone like you, I completely get it. For someone who is very deep, like I said, I watched the shows on DVD from a place called Beaver's Video. Okay, so
you did. You did watch it from Beaver's Video.
I could only watch it so much and so many times, and then I was stuck with whatever was on TV. It just happened to be Beast Wars, and it just kind of continued that cycle. I wasn't steeped in G1, and so I criticize the movies at times, especially from the Bayisms of. They hey, make this cool character, we'll name it later, and they just slap something on there, and it's just like, that is not who that is fundamentally. Nope. Or having these all kind, like, we're going to shoot all these shots, and then the visual effects just have to work with it, and it's just like, there's many of those things that even in movies I enjoy still get to me, because it's like, this could have been better and could have probably been more liked if it was better.
Yeah, like if the Transformers looked like things instead of like Megatron looking like someone took a handful of aluminum foil and went put it on screen.
I love that, especially in Revenge of the Fallen. I love that design though. He is so beefy and crabby. It's so cool, and I mean, heavily modified, but it's still Hugo Weaving. I think he does a great job.
He hated that.
I'm not correcting you, Chris. I'm just saying.
No. I did. Hey, everyone's got their thing.
We'll never yuck anybody's yums.
My movie fans, for Transformers have driven Raven away.
Goodbye, Raven. Love you too.
Hey, Raven.
But that's a good question. So, what? Obviously, G1 is where your heart is, Chris. But from that, have you really kept up with a lot? Have you found anything else that's been cool or interesting to you?
Absolutely. Outside of G1, and I hate to sound like one of those, those OT purists and whatnot. You know what I'm talking about. It's those three, and that's it. It's Empire Strikes Back. Stop. But I love Beast Wars. It was amazing. It was incredible. The IDW comics were amazing. The Netflix series is fantastic.
Don't sleep on it. It is out now. Yeah. If you want to dive into the world of Transformers and need a very, I think, a really even keel. Like, they don't overload you with a lot of the lore. You get the highlights. It's just 3 parts. Really simple, digestible.
And as far as video games go, I think it's War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron.
Yes.
Or if you want to talk about like how to outside of that Netflix series, if you want to be like, I want to make a pure G1 show or G1 story and update it.
Yeah,
that's the way to go. And it was incredible.
It's some of my and not to pass video games off as lesser, like
right.
I love my video games. I love Jedi Fallen Order, all of those things. I still would love Cal Kestis in live action.
Yes.
And, like, I would like him in a Star Wars. Like, I enjoy
Absolutely.
playing the game, but I also want just the story because that's what
Yeah.
we love about it, right?
Yeah.
These games are some of the best Transformers
Absolutely.
out there.
Absolutely.
So good. I mean, like they've got so many of the beats for classic fans, but also if you've watched the movies, if you've seen a recent show, you've got familiarity with everything they're putting in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just done so well.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're on PlayStation 3. If you're ancient like me and still have one, I highly recommend you check them out. Great stuff.
Does Cliffjumper live?
Yes, you actually get to play as Cliffjumper and follow Cybertron, which I loved because they gave him his glass gun and everything.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. So back in the day,
hang on,
every Transformer had unique things. It wasn't just Optimus Prime and his blaster. It was his ion blaster.
Yeah.
You didn't have just Megatron and his arm cannon. It was fusion cannon.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody had a thing, and Cliffjumper's for some reason was a glass cannon. And I don't remember if it's like it turns you into glass or if I think that's the thing. But yeah, so it was just a deep cut reference that they put in there.
Okay.
That I really enjoyed.
I see. There's some things about Transformers that I'm like, okay, that's one of them.
Everything had to be a thing. Like, so
everything did have to be a thing. Yes.
If you get into the history of Transformers, and that's what I said, like that's part of the phenomena. Like, these guys from Hasbro went to a toy fair in Japan to try and find the next big thing to sell. And they found Transformers, or what was two different series.
Yeah.
Diaclone and Micro Changers.
Yep.
And so if you're ever wondering, like, wait, why are these so tiny and these, like, scaled? They weren't meant to play together, but Hasbro bought the rights to distribute and were like, hey, Marvel Comics is doing really good with G.I. Joe. What if we did that with this new thing, but in TV? And basically you get 22-minute weekly feature lengths commercials for these toys. And so, but it
worked.
It did. And so because of their relationship with Marvel, they went to Marvel and were like, hey, can you come up with the story? Because they literally were just like, we want these toys to sell, make a story to sell them and to be the show. And so Marvel writers created that, and they went deep. Everything had a meaning. Like, oh, he comes with these 2 silver cylinders. Oh, we're going to call those, his little, pulse grenades or what. Like they had details on everything back in the day. There was a whole Transformers Bible. It's honestly
there's that. There was the specs they had on the back of the boxes, with all of their their specs, their backstory, what allegiance they were in, all that stuff. Man, it was so dope.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's what was crazy is like you could just buy a cool toy, or you could read the back of the packaging and get a little bit, or you could watch the show, or you could do all of it.
Yeah.
But it was all spectacle too, because you mentioned one of the coolest features were the tech specs and the holo stickers.
Yes.
And so,
well, the holo stickers was like that was a little bit later. You talking when like you put
that was on the
thing, like you put your thumb on it and it reveals all about. Yeah, that was a little bit later, but yeah, like there was like a little sliver like this, and it was like almost like 3D glasses or something like that, where you could like put that over the specs and it revealed like a little like secret or something different. It was kind of dope.
Yeah,
I remember those figures back then, like the basic ones, like of course my man Prowl, Prowl, Hound. I think even the Seekers, Skywarp, Starscream, Thundercracker. All those guys were like in the $10 to $15 range, and that was like these cost so much money. It was like 1984.
I would be so glad if
Optimus Prime was like between like $20-$30. You're like, that's just too much.
Right
now, oh my god! Nowadays, be like, gimme, just put them
right. So let me sell a kidney for this new one.
Right.
It's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, they're cashing in on that.
The masterpieces, and I sell those at the shop, and the masterpieces are what
you wanted as a kid.
The masterpieces are what I had in my brain while I was playing with these figures, because the masterpiece looked just like the animated series, whereas the toys look nothing like the like the animated series, but we had imagination as kids back in the 80s.
We
joked
about this earlier in the podcast, but I'm serious. Go look up Transformers G1 Ironhide figure, and then look up a comparison to him in the show.
Yeah.
You'll be like, this is
looks
hardware.
So weird.
This is not a being. Like it was, and that's the thing. Like even
his face was the windshield, sir.
Right. Half of the vehicle that transformed was a platform for it. Like it was weird.
It made sense.
But like, talking about what the toys are now, I'm constantly amazed. Like, I'm trying to remember one of the more recent ones that I got where it was just like the engineering that has come from it is incredible. Because I have some G1 figures. I have the classic Prime, and to go from 6-step transformation to car to robot in 37 easy steps. Like it's like
I had the masterpiece version of the Constructicons Devastator.
Oh, nice.
It was for the shop. Yeah. So I this thing cost like $360, and I spent 4 or 5 hours putting that thing together into Devastator, and that was the most stressful 4.5 hours, whatever, ever, because I'm like, this thing costs like $400. I cannot screw this up, and I'm like trying to put everything in the right spot and trying to bend things in ways that is it supposed to go that way? I don't know, and something crack and that's it. But kids were they made us little geniuses back then, figuring out how to transform things.
That was
if we didn't look at the instructions,
Yeah, like these little STEM kits that kids get now of just like, fun and learning. Like that was a transformer back in the day.
Absolutely.
That was our educational fun.
Absolutely. They made us little problem solvers.
It's crazy. It's so like there's so many facets of it, and I appreciate like you and I like very specific lines of the comics, but that's the thing too. Much like Star Wars, it doesn't just exist in the primary mediums.
Right.
I would say TV show and now movies are very relevant, but especially Transformers is a TV show first, everything else second, I'd say. But so many of the Transformers comics too have done incredible things because for a long time, kind of like how Star Wars fans talk about Star Wars only existed in the books for a little while. That's Transformers comics. They've been going since the beginning and kind of haven't stopped. Even when shows kind of tapered off, they're like, oh, they don't like when Optimus Prime is a monkey. Let's not talk about that anymore.
Right.
Let's take a few years off.
What was the movement that you told me about?
Truck, not monkey.
Yeah.
People were upset that Optimus Prime was a monkey.
Oh, fandoms.
Dear sweet fandoms.
Right. ruining my childhood.
Your childhood sucked.
But yeah, I mean, you hit on a lot of the things. I was so glad you mentioned the video games because that for me definitively is some of the best, well done, well written Transformers content, and it's also fun games. It's hard to believe they've been out as long as they have, but if you like first-person shooters, they're right up there. Really fun stuff.
I don't.
But for you, Boot, I mean, you mentioned Transformers Prime.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember all that you've seen so far. I think Prime and G1 are kind of your thing.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. You've shown me a few episodes of Transformers Animated, I think is what you showed me.
Yeah, the beginning of that. Yeah, it's like a 3-part beginning or something like that.
I've caught episodes here and there when you watch it.
That's one of my favorite shows.
Find Scramble City. It's straight Japanese version. It is pretty much the link between the G1 series and the movie.
Oh, that's the one that yes, that's the one. That was when Takara, the Japanese Transformers parent company, started doing their own thing, right? Yeah. Because down the road comes some of mine, and that's one of my things is there's so much to love. There is the American stuff, but it is as much. I mean, if you've ever grown up watching Power Rangers, it's very much the same thing. There's a Japanese equivalent to whatever you love.
Isn't it
Kyoryu Sentai Ranger is from season 1.
Mm-hmm.
They took Kiba Ranger from Dai Ranger, which is the series afterwards, for White Ranger.
Yep.
Season 3, which is Ninja Sentai Kako Ranger, which is a ninja, the ninja theme one they used for the Aquatar Rangers.
Yeah.
Not a fan of what they did to my favorite Sentai, but yeah, on and on. Rangers is it's in its 30th season now or something like that. Like it's nuts.
Yeah, and so
if you ever want to do an episode on that,
definitely it's coming because we've got anniversary coming up for it in 20-something years in the States. 21st. I think this is the 21st year of it in the States.
Oh, Rangers?
Yeah.
No. This is like
more than that.
No,
it premiered in.
Yeah, we're like in the 28th or 29th season right now.
It would be 28th if it was 94.
Yeah, 93.
Yes,
93.
I just graduated high school. Yeah, and I was yeah.
Even crazier.
Yeah.
So Transformers eventually did the Super Sentai and eventually Power Rangers method, where, like I said, there was chunks of Transformers and then they would reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
But over in Japan, every year was a new series.
Yep.
You had Scramble City.
Mm-hmm.
You had Headmasters or Master Force.
I know that word.
You had
and they use that for like that short, very very short fourth final season,
the Rebirth
for G1
series.
Yeah.
And leading into one of my favorites, which is Victory, which
that's the Gundam one. Basically
trades out most of the familiar Transformers for new ones.
Yep.
I like all the gimmicks of the new ones. That's really the biggest reason I love it. And the show, if you like Power Rangers or Super Sentai, it's very in that vein.
Absolutely.
Do any of them use Shining Finger?
I mean,
that's just G Gundam. That's just G Gundam.
Close equivalents of just like here's a very long and eloquently named super attack.
Yeah.
I like, because I'm a fan of a lot of anime. A lot of the more explicitly anime Transformers are appealing to me. Like a lot of people don't know, there's a Japanese Beast Wars. That's very good. Beast Wars 2. For some reason, but I think there was some other like mini thing they did before that. But if you've ever seen Optimus Prime as a lion, that's what that's from.
Yep. Lion Convoy. Yep.
Yes. Yep. Because in Japan, generally he is Convoy.
Mm-hmm.
Except in Headmasters, where they got really sacrilegious, and he was God Jinrai.
I would like to submit to the peanut gallery because there are things that I don't get. Number one, Perceptor is just a telescope. Why couldn't they just have a telescope? I don't understand.
Because he's very smart. He's a very smart telescope.
He's very perceptive.
And
yes.
Worse.
And he's British.
Ooh, worse than that. He's not a telescope. He's a periscope. Like he's a desktop scientist in a lab.
Don't
love you. Okay, another thing, which this came up during watching the movie too.
Hang on. So to that, I will say, like, part of me and Chris started talking about our childhood trauma, so I didn't get to talk. Like, one of my favorite things about Transformers, and I think why I love it, are the functional ones.
Yes.
I mean, as a child, as a wee little creature, that is more appropriately sized. So, like, that was my periscope as a child.
Oh, yeah.
Soundwave was a freaking Walkman. Like,
tape deck.
Bruh, like, it's just, like, I loved the ones that, I mean, Megatron was an actual, almost one-to-one scale gun. Like,
that's the other thing.
I loved the ones that were, like, functional. It was so cool.
There was a time, like, when we were dating, where you just randomly dropped on me one day. Yeah, this is Megatron. Right now he's just a robot or a car or whatever. He used to be a gun. And I was like, why? And I watched the movie and I'm
80s.
like, why?
What's more evil than a gun?
Excellent point. Excellent point. I love that technically most of the Autobots are useful things, but in the Decepticons are unhelpful weapons.
The Decepticons were more flying machines.
Exactly.
Much more military.
And instruments of destruction, no pun intended. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just like to think that Megatron is pragmatic, and if he ever caught doing something he shouldn't do, he would be like, "Hey, Megatron, like I'm a gun. Guns don't kill people. Starscream kills people."
Why does he have to be used by another Transformer?
Because how else is he gonna function as a gun?
He can shoot himself.
Sometimes he like jumps up, he shoot real quick, and then
like sometimes he
right
does
back.
it himself.
Galvatron is a cannon. Like, why can't he just shoot?
Well, okay, so
why does he need to be wielded?
It was one of those things, that toy existed, and they were like, surely this is the most evil creation. And you've got to imagine, as a kid, when you're transforming it, the gun is as big as an F-15 fighter jet.
Yes.
Like, they are the same.
It had the the safety. It had like shoulder attachment, so you could aim it properly. You could,
completely customize that. Like
they did not care back then. We were the test subjects.
And no orange cap, none of that. Like,
nope, that was not a thing. That was not a thing. There were and I forgot the name of them. And I really wanted one real bad as a kid, but I'm really glad I didn't have one. What was it? There were water guns that looked just like regular firearms, like just like.
Oh yeah.
And then when people mistakenly started getting shot because they had these things, they were like, "Oh, let's dial that back."
Yeah, let's.
And that's when the orange.
Right now, I will point out, although it's very less featured, and you certainly haven't seen it, but Shockwave is just a gun too, but he's a space gun.
Yes.
So
haven't seen that.
You put space in front of anything, it makes it like that much more.
I mean, it's a giant purple one, so I don't think you're going to have to worry about that as much. But
no.
But yeah, like I mean, that was basically when they got, because again, these were just toys. There was no story to it. They were just made and released in Japan. Hasbro, with the help of Marvel, added the story, and so when they had to separate good guys from bad guys, they literally went with, what are the regular civilian, everyday utility vehicles and tools, and which are the ones that shoot people?
Which is why one of them was a cop car. Yeah.
That was that was one of the good guys.
Oh, was it?
Prowl.
Yep, Prowl. I don't think for a long time there was a bad guy.
Cop.
Barricade's the one now, but I don't
that's the one I was
thinking of. I don't remember when he came in.
Just those terrible Bay movies. That was his first time in.
Really? At all?
Horrible Bay movies. Yep.
Oh wow.
I think so. I'm sure.
I know he's bigger now. I know I've seen him in Extremity. He was in those video games and everything.
Yeah.
I like that he's stuck around because he's a fun character, and generally, he's got purple, and that's just a winning feature for me.
A cab includes Decepticons.
Huh? What?
You didn't hear that?
No, I genuinely didn't hear. That wasn't a joke on my part. I'm just deaf.
A cab includes Decepticons.
A cab. I don't know what that is.
You really don't?
No.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yep,
what?
Yep.
No, I'll say it on stream. All cops are bastards.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they definitely emphasized that in the Bay movies with that whole "punish and enslave" slogan on the side of the cop car.
Yes, they did.
Terrible movies.
I don't think so. Here's the thing.
Yes, Ben. Yes.
Oh my God.
Horrible. Yes, Ben. Shaking that man's hand right now. Booyah. I like him.
There's something deep down in there to like, even if it's just the credits. There's something in there to like.
Sure.
Even
if
with the Bay movies.
Yeah.
It makes me love the G1 more because that was so terrible.
Exactly.
If I could just talk about a conspiracy theory that I have.
Sure.
From the 1986 animated movie. And that is, and I didn't come to this till like years later because Hot Rod was a bit of a favorite of mine for when I was a kid because I didn't know any better.
He had flames. He was cool. Yeah.
He was the perfect storm. He had the best. I still think he's the best design for an Autobot.
Oh,
the
for sure.
Best color scheme, and he had Judd Nelson doing his voice. Fantastic. As I got older, I was like, that dude got Optimus Prime killed. Look who became the leader at the end of that movie. It's all his fault. He was in league with Megatron to get Optimus Prime killed. Look what happened. If you watch the animated movie, remember when they all team up again, or they all meet up again on the planet Junkion?
Yeah.
What was the first words out of his mouth? Do you remember?
Mm-hmm.
And how needy he said it? The Matrix. Watch it again. He wants that thing so bad that he helped kill. He jumped into that fight between Prime and Megatron. He didn't have to. And what happened? Optimus Prime got shot in the face. He died. Boom. And people like, Chris, let it go. And I'm like, shut up. No. That's what happened.
He killed my space robot dad.
He killed my space robot dad. He worked in league. He was in league in cahoots with Megatron, and then he turned the deal on him at the end. Like it's different footage where it's like Galvatron's like, bro, I thought we were in this together. He's like, no, fuck that. I'm taking it, and that's how he got it. It became exactly. I'm telling you, watch that movie again in a whole different light. You'll see it. Hot Rod is a he's a bastard.
He's conniving.
It was all for his run.
He did it all for the Matrix. He did it all for the Matrix.
Ben brings up a great point. That score, the entrance of the Autobots, is pretty epic. I feel like that's agreeable, even if you don't like the visual introduction.
No, I can't get behind any of that.
I hate that they've stopped using it since the second one. I think they only used it in the first two, but man, I really enjoy. I like those movies.
Good for you.
I can't quantify it any more than that. Here's the thing: I'm outnumbered on this for sure.
Here's the thing: I may hate those movies, but I love you, and we're in the same room a lot. And you watch those movies.
Fair. Well, so because I'm sure this will take a little bit, we'll go ahead and start getting towards the wrap up here. And so I have to go in with the obligatory nerdy question. Whenever you find out somebody likes something you like, it's always who's your favorite character?
Oh,
so
God.
I mean, you've already kind of started that. You mentioned it earlier, but if you want to unwrap that a little bit more,
I can elaborate. I love Starscream. Starscream is like the ultimate 80s queer coded. Just there's something special about a screamy,
Boop's not wrong,
just obnoxious character that I love so much, and he's so conniving. I love him so dearly.
He's such an opportunist.
He's so ready every time Megatron just trips a little bit.
Megatron wasn't even like he was still alive, and he's in that shuttle after the attack on Autobot City. He's like, well, these guys aren't going to make it, so I nominate myself as the new leader.
Right. Oh, I love the whole.
He's like, I'm still here.
That whole exchange, which I love that they fight it out. I'd like to have seen how that played out. That Starscream did still end up getting the crown. However briefly. But that line exchange for sure of just like, I still function.
What a
Starscream got a lot of the best lines.
Yes.
Throughout the original show.
Oh, how it pains me to do this. With that shitting grin in his face.
All the time. I think that's the thing too. It's not just that's like his character. We're not talking about like Game of Thrones conniving. We're not talking about like
this is literal. Like if he had a mustache, he'd be twirling it. That is Starscream to a T.
All the time. He is out and proud with his deviousness.
Exactly.
Especially in and I didn't get to quantify, but like Beast Wars is one of my favorites, but Transformers Animated is another really, really great one. I like how unique and new it was. And that was the one that really started putting queer Starscream forward. And I appreciate them for it.
Oh yeah.
Because we all knew.
Rights.
We all knew.
Starscream says gay rights all the time, all day. And then, Slag. He's a good boy. Give him a little pat on the head. He's a good
they changed his name.
I know. He's Slug now.
Ooh, when they realized, we're like, oh, wait a minute.
Right, that's what that is? There's so many. We could probably do a whole episode on Transformers that have transformed their names since you've last
Good for them.
because it happens more than you think.
Mm-hmm.
If they're lucky, they still get to just slap like Autobot this, that, or the other, like Autobot Mud Flap or whatever, to keep it. But
was Mud Flap a real name?
Yeah. Yep.
I was so insulted. Ooh.
Not that Mud Flap. Okay, I'm thinking of a different one, but I know you're gonna latch on to Revenge of the Fallen. Mud Flap.
Those two,
the twins. Yeah, Skids.
Yeah,
and Mud
those
Flap.
two. Yeah, they were not. That was not. I was not happy with that. I was insulted. People were like, weren't you insulted by Jar Jar Binks? Like, no one in my family talk like that. But those guys, no one in my family talks like that either. But that, I mean, that is blatant.
Oh, for sure. Blatant. Well, that was so blatant. A Bayism. The two things Bay gets by on racial a lot of the times in his movies is racial coding and misogyny.
Yes, and yeah, it's at the forefront. It's like he just like, here, take all that. Yeah.
Beast Wars is amazing.
Absolutely.
It still holds up so dang well. Absolutely. I know you don't like it. I
don't not like it. I think it's just hard to watch sometimes.
It's visually it's
I would say watch the, I've said it before, but watch the Netflix series because they hit everything.
Yes. So and they do a good justice to it, because imagine. Bro, so like the best way to put it is that the Netflix trilogy is the multiverse of madness for Transformers.
And absolutely. I did love that movie.
Absolutely. It's universe hopping Transformers.
Yeah. Things happen. I'm like, oh my God, they did that. They went there. Oh my God. Okay, cool. Yeah.
It was good.
I might need like a Wikipedia page open, but I will gladly.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I have a walking Wikipedia page. So
there you go.
Which one's that one again? Yeah.
That's Optimus Prime.
Right. Who's the big red one? Yeah. But no, there's nothing wrong with some there's nothing wrong with some Dinobot love for sure. Like I said, I got a soft spot for Grimlock. He's the most precious beefcake Transformers has to offer.
He's a himbo.
Oh yes. Super Dino himbo.
Big time.
But for you, Chris, I think you've kind of hinted out, and maybe it was just a childhood favorite, but you have mentioned Prowl. But any other favorites, or do you want to hit on Prowl maybe again?
Soundwave, because he to me was, outside of Jazz, was the only other black Transformer. And Blaster was black as well for sure. But Soundwave was a favorite. Prowl mostly because he was the very first one I ever got.
Yeah, there's something special with that.
Optimus Prime is on a level that's untouchable. Optimus and Megatron are on like untouchable levels.
Sure.
Hot Rod, I hate him, but I love his design. It's amazing. I love his design. That makes it real tough to fully hate him because his design is so dope. Man, who else? Yeah, top favorite, like one above all. I don't know if there's a thing. There's like a group that is like my number one favorites. I can't do one.
Understand and respect that, because certainly with Star Wars, I'm that way. It's very hard. Same. And I tell people all the time, like, you have to quantify what you mean by favorite. I'm a broken record, but I've talked about this, where it's like, if you just ask me my non-thoughtful, not deep and introspective, just because favorite, it's Boba Fett. If you ask me my like favorite because it means something to me, it's going to be Anakin. If you quantify it even further of favorite good guy, it'll be Qui-Gon. Like there's definitely a mass of favorites, and you kind of have to help me pick what you want to get at.
I like Darth Maul.
Transformers is very easy for me, and it's Soundwave, hands down. I mentioned it earlier. I love the Transformers with gimmicks and functionality. It's cool to have a robot that turns into a VW or into a Porsche or into a truck, but it's the ones that it's like, it not only transformed, but it does a thing. And Soundwave was the one that had, I think, the best gimmick. I just love
the spying and the communications officer, all the cassettes.
I love a big bot with little bot children. And like like there's something about his little cassette babies.
Sims is his babies.
Like, oh my gosh. I mean, we talked about the movie and that whole scene where they're fighting about it, and it's just like,
Soundwave Superior.
Soundwave Superior, Constructicons Inferior. And Frenzy bursts out in his defense, like,
and totally
his dad. I'm like,
craps the word up, charismatic. Yeah.
Yeah. I just love it so much. It's gimmicky, but it's so amazing. And he's always been the coolest one, I think.
So loyal. He is loyal to Megatron like no other.
Yeah, and he's the one that gets it done. He's the real second in command with Megatron in almost every iteration, with no other schemes, nothing like that. He's not Starscream, he's not Shockwave, he's not waiting for his chance on the throne.
Right.
He's there for Megatron.
He's there for the cause. Absolutely. Now you've watched like all the different iterations they've done with Soundwave.
Yes.
Throughout, no one has ever been able to replicate that vocoder voice like they have in G1. No one has. People have sort of come close, but no one has ever been able to do that. And that breaks my heart, because I've been looking at tutorials, like, because I'm trying to do it like on Audacity or something like that, like try to replicate that, but it's damn near impossible. And I'm not sure if even those sound engineers are even around anymore to even comment on that. But that was like that. His voice was perfection. Like every now and again, I'll just watch, like, there's a best of Soundwave G1 thing on YouTube, and I'll just watch that and just listen to that voice. It's amazing.
It's such a it's what you imagine space robot would sound like. It works to his gimmick especially, and I like that they haven't overdone it with other ones. But it's never like it. That is and will forever be unique. Others have tried to, even other shows have tried to mimic it, because under all that editing is just Frank Welker's Dr. Claw voice.
Exactly.
Like, he's just doing that over and over. Like that's it. That's his thing.
Like if you watch Dark of the Moon or Revenge of the Fallen, if you watch the movies and you're like, why does Soundwave sound like that? Like he's always technically sounded like that. But
that's his bass voice.
And I honestly think that's some of the magic too, is whatever Frank Welker was doing behind it. As well, because like I know TC Carson did it in the video games. A couple of others have kind of come in, because once they figured out it's mostly the edit. I don't think they put the same magic behind the mic, and I don't mean that to any of the voice actors.
Right.
I think
Welker's on a different level.
Yeah, he is the legend. I would be surprised if he's not still the one with the most voice credits to him.
Probably.
This dude learned other languages so he could do his lines in other languages for the movies.
Yeah.
Like no one else is going to be Megatron. I'm going to be Spanish Megatron. Like
like it still amazes me, like, some of the other voices that he's done. Like when I was a kid, the real Ghostbusters, this animated series was amazing, and he was the voice of it's not Spengler, not Egon.
Jerry, where are you?
Why can I think of Aykroyd's character? Aykroyd's
whoa.
I don't know. Ghostbusters.
Ray Stantz, and he was the voice of Slimer on there. It's like it's just
that's the voice of Slimer.
So Ben, yes, Rat Trap by Scott McNeil is amazing. So the close second voice to Welker's as the most Transformers is Scott McNeil. He was half of the Beast Wars cast. He was in several of the early 2000 series as well. He's a fantastic man that I need him to go back to cons, because I need to meet him. He's just a hoot and a half if you ever look at like the behind the scenes stuff. But Scott McNeil is amazing.
Dragon Ball Z, right?
He was the Ocean Dub Piccolo. Yes,
that's what I thought. Okay.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So before the changeover happened, he was the original.
Boy.
He was the original Piccolo.
Yeah.
But yes, Rat Trap is lovely. I love. I mean, you're gonna get me gushing about Beast Wars no matter what you do. I mean,
Rob Paulson was in that show.
My God. Oh yeah, Rob Paulson was. I don't remember who he played.
He doesn't
the
either.
Original. Because like Chris mentioned, like you'd walk in and they'd be like, "Hey, we have this character that's going to show up for 5 seconds called Blue Streak. We need you to do a line read for him." Like
Prowl's younger, dumber brother.
Yeah, you wouldn't get to live with these characters. The only ones really stuck on their characters were the main cast. But I mean, Chris, I don't know if you like have it on the top of your head, but there was like 20 Autobots in the first couple of seasons. Like,
yes,
there was a lot, and you're talking about 6
like,
guys doing most of them.
Maybe 6. Yeah,
they couldn't remember everyone, and so I don't blame Rob Paulson at all, because he definitely would have been around that studio at that time to do it. But yeah, I love voice acting too. Transformers is a big reason for that. I love these amazing actors and the things they do for these characters, because other than that, like, the toys are cool, but it's the people behind them that do make them cool.
Absolutely.
Optimus Prime is cool because of Peter Cullen.
Yeah.
Chris Latta and so many others have gone on to make Starscream amazing. Frank
Cobra
Welker.
Commander. Yeah.
I mean, Casey Kasem brought many a Transformer to life as well.
Yep. Cliff Jumper.
Yep. That was his. I think that was his definitive one.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, like, so many great people have worked behind Transformers, and I think that's part of it too. Is it's this big layered thing. Is it the toys? Is it the show? Is it the movies?
It is a perfect mix. It's a mix. It's a mix of all that, and it's amazing. Like, Scatman Crothers was the voice of Jazz.
Yes.
If you know what I'm talking about, like, have you ever seen the Nicholson movie,
The Shining?
Shining.
Yes,
yep.
And he was in that.
He was the guy that said the thing. He said The Shining.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you've gotten, and I mean, we mentioned it, you eventually get big names in there. Leonard Nimoy was Galvatron that one time.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, and I think that slipped by me at first when I first watched. I'm like, wait a minute.
Oh yeah, well,
it's Spock. Like, yeah.
and it's funny because, like, I remember the first time finding that out and being like, wait, but like, he was so brutal in that movie.
Yeah,
like choking out Hot Rod and all that other stuff. I'm just like, dang, that's okay.
Well, like,
all
that
right.
was when we watched the movie the other night. I'm pretty sure that was just the big wow of the movie at first, was just watching the credits and seeing all of the people that were in that dang movie.
The fastest talking man.
Exactly.
John Moschitta.
Yeah. Blur.
Made me want to buy some Hot Wheels.
And stuff like that. And that's what I again, animated. I hate to keep bringing that around, but that's one of my favorite shows. Because it's unique, but it also does very similar things. It plays to the nostalgia. It brings classic voice actors back to their classic characters. And so there's many a Transformer out there. And I think the big thing I wanted to unpack, we've done, is that there's so many things about it that are more than just the toys or the media. And there's a lot of different ways you can find your way into Transformers if you want to.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. We all have ever-growing lists of things to watch. Just throw a Transformer on there.
Yeah.
One of them. They're again, they're accessible more than ever.
Absolutely. And that's the same thing I say to people. Like, today, someone came in to the shop and they wanted to pick up some Vader comics. And they came up and they didn't know the difference. They grabbed one from Charles Soule's run, one from Kieran Gillen's run, and one from Greg Pak's run, thinking they were the same series. I'm like,
understandable mistake.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I was like, where do you want to go? Because there's like with anything with Star Wars, there's no, the OT purists can say what they want. There is no, every point in Star Wars, it's an entry point. It doesn't matter. So I said to him, I'm like, where do you want to go? I said, Charles Soule's takes place right after Revenge of the Sith. Kieran Gillen's takes place right after Episode 4. Greg Pak's is right after Empire Strikes Back. Where do you want to go? And he's like, well, I want to do right after Revenge of the Sith. I'm like, all right, let's get you this Charles Soule books. Boom, you're good to go.
So good.
It doesn't matter where you get in. Same thing with Transformers. I say still stay away from the Bay movies, but
or at least wait until we do our apologetic episode on it, where
apologetic episode. This is gonna be all you, baby.
All hail Megatron. If you want to get to the comics, all hail Megatron is an amazing starting point. Like the comics for IDW, amazing starting point, because it just went on from there, and it just totally opened that universe up.
I'd throw in their Regeneration 1. If you want a very fresh start, because much like Marvel and DC have had to do over their decades of comics, there's a lot of soft reboots. Regeneration 1 was one I really liked, which is another IDW, and so you're guaranteed great art, great story.
Right.
They have, for the 20th anniversary, brought back Beast Wars comics right now, and I highly recommend them. Really fun art, really interesting story. So if you've already experienced Beast Wars and you like it, if you want something a little different than just cars and robots, maybe
Also,
try that. I'm really enjoying it.
Support your local comic shops.
Absolutely.
Yeah, where you can. Most of them can still find it for you. So try that out. I would recommend the Transformers movie comics Defiant.
You're just going to keep trying.
If you want story, those movies don't do story very well. So if you want the story, give it a shot. I'm almost certain they're dirt cheap because nobody likes
giving
them.
He's giving it the old college try. I understand.
I am. Either that or
he's trying.
The Transformers movie, Reign of Starscream, is also very good. Yes,
I do like
Starscream gets to shine and be his dramatic self.
He doesn't do that usually.
Not in the movies.
No, he doesn't.
Yep. Don't have favorites in the movies, I will say, because if they're not Bumblebee, they don't show up. They don't get more than 30 seconds. So.
It's true. Bumblebee is a sweetheart and a cute little boy, but like there are other Transformers.
Yeah, and they're starting to get better at it, but the movie didn't help. But yes, Beast Wars has current comics. They are still producing them. I think they're about 17 issues in right now. Highly recommend.
I've definitely since fallen off on some of the Transformers books because it just got like it. Not that it got bad. It's just like, man, this is getting. I just couldn't keep up after a while. Like everything else I was reading, and the Star Wars books and everything else. But like I'm gonna start picking up like graphic novels and hardcovers and whatnot here and there to get back into it, because it was one point where I'm like, this isn't even just like good versus evil. This is super political. Like it just got like it's like that between the Autobots and Decepticons, and you're wondering who's the real bad guy here. You wonder about that, and then there's like there's like a third faction, and like then they're the ones that the forgotten people. Oh man,
it's very much. It leans into a lot more of that in the comics get to do what none of the shows, none of the movies ever really got to do, and they get to spend way more
Netflix
time.
series. The Netflix series dabbles in a little bit with the shades of gray because you're sympathetic with Megatron, for a bit, and then he starts to go off the deep end. And I'm like, all right, man, you got
they approached it from the side because normally we start Megatron is bad.
Yeah,
like we start with we have a clear good and evil. They did have a bit more of a personal journey, I think, for a lot of characters in that one.
Yeah,
which was a different approach, which I also think is why not too many people liked it. I don't know, but you can find it Netflix, you can find it on Tubi. It's Transformers is out there. If you want to check it out, you can. It's been around for 38 years, so it has to be doing something right.
Yeah, it's doing something right. Somebody likes it,
right?
I'm sure.
Clearly we do. We've been talking about it for an hour and a half. So, again, I plan to at some point come to the defense of the Michael Bay movies that Boba is apparently allergic to.
So is Chris. So Chris, it's fine.
Yes. But for now, we set out to celebrate this weird little show, toy line, comic series with a couple of cool games. And I think we've done that and hopefully piqued interest, maybe highlighted interest. Now we are Transformers friends. Come talk to us. Would be glad to do that. But we'll wrap it up here. We're back next week to talk some Star Wars. We'll be if you were with us last week, we talked about favorite Jedi. We will be back next week to talk about the other side, favorite Sith. With a couple of special guests for that. So very excited.
Yes.
And of course, the Kenobi discussion is forthcoming.
Kenobis. Love that, man.
We are almost done, and it's hard to believe, but luckily, so much more is on the way. Andor is right around the corner, as well as many other things.
He's standing right around the corner with a sack
waiting
put over my head and drag me down an alleyway. Like I am ready.
He's going to take us to touch Java. But Chris, for Broaxium, for Blue Bantha, do you got any promos, any upcoming projects, anything you want to shout out?
Well, Dan and I are working on the our top 3 moments of Obi-Wan Kenobi called Broby John Kenobi. John is a Philly word, so we're we're stupid. Funny. So we got that. We still do our Star Wars comics previews, our quick shots. We try to do them every Tuesday. We have them out. So, the day before the comics come out, just something to get you hyped for the comics. Star Bros are doing their thing, and they have their episodes every other week. And what else we doing? And of course, every Sunday night, shooting the poodoo, where we just literally shoot all the poodoo, and we just
will find me
have
there.
a good time. It's all chilling, yes, terrorizing Dan, and I
it's
love
true.
It. And for Blue Bantha Milk, we're working on. We just finished Calrissian Chronicles number 4.
Yes,
I can't do another episode until my voice gets better. Ben, thank you,
yes,
thanks, bro. And let's see, we're also working on episode 4.75. We're still in the middle of writing that. It's insane. It's insane. Like the 2 scenes that I wrote, I'm like, this is ridiculous. The AI needs to be questioned.
It needs Jesus.
Like it needs several Jesuses.
Yes,
several
space Jesus, aka
it needs so many.
It needs Mothman.
Some form of deity.
Yes,
salvation.
But not Terminator salvation.
An underrated movie. I did too.
There you go. That's something you guys agree on.
I like everything but Genesis, honestly.
I like that too.
Oh, well, you know what? That
you can go sit with Kev.
Now you know how I feel, Chris. No, that the T-1000 scene was epic, and that was about it. But yeah. Nerd Herder Pride merch is out.
Yes.
Link in the description for our TeePublic where you can buy that. All the proceeds we get from our Pride merch will go to the Amidala Initiative, aka Amidala Helps on Twitter.
Yes.
If you want to know more about that, then check it out there. But basically supporting Equality Texas and their work with LGBTQ plus folks and families. It can be slapped on anything. T-shirt, pillow, or in my case, a mug. However you want to show your pride and support for your favorite weird little podcast, you can do so.
Put it on your fridge.
You can also check out any of our other designs as well if you want to support the show. And speaking of supporting the show, thank you to our patrons. To everyone else, thank you for listening. If you liked it, let us know you liked it by leaving a like, sharing it, rating it, whatever you do, wherever you get this content, either live or after the fact. But we definitely appreciate you stopping by to our weird little corner of the internet for another week.
Weird Space Friends.
Weird Space Friends for the win.
For life.
If nothing else, maybe this has been entertaining. I would certainly hope to hear a few messages of, hey, I checked it out. Hey, I found my Transformers. Or, hey, Chris is right. This movie sucks. Whatever. If you've checked out a Star Wars after this, it's not Star Wars. If you checked out a Transformers after this, I will be very happy and proud and satisfied. So
go watch the 1986 Transformers, the movie.
Yes. If nothing else,
you will leave with questions.
Just turn it
never
on,
watch the
look
Bay
at
movies
it,
again.
and listen to the music. If
oh my god,
else.
Greatest soundtrack ever.
Oh my gosh. But nonetheless, even if you don't, hey, we had fun, and that's what's important, right?
Absolutely.
Fun with friends.
Friend with.
I'm slowly losing my ability to speak. So
all you need to say.
All I need to say is
till all are one.
Look at you.
There you go. I remembered something.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Till all are one.
Wait a minute. You know, this is, excuse me, a damn fine cup of coffee.